What's good, YouTube? And welcome to the house. Product review. I wanted to take pretty much all the products that have been released this year and put them into a tier list, actually rank them each and explain why I feel that way. And the credentials are how they actually stack up on the secondary market, how they impacted the metagame, what they gave to both casuals and competitors, collectors alike, and then how it panned out later down the road. And so much has happened this year, I forgot Legendary Duelist 6 was this very year. I felt like it was last year. Shoutouts to Sutff for putting together this tier list for me, and let's go ahead and rank products. Starting with that Legendary Duelist 6, I'm actually going to give it a B. I almost feel like it should be in the A section, but versus other products this year and how weirdly it was handled. Over in the EU first edition, short prints, nah. But then over here, horrendous shortings on Magician Souls. You do also have very good stuff that was very cheap. The do-do-do, ga-ga-ga, dee-dee-dee. No, seriously, the onomatopoeia stuff panned out better than people would have thought. It took some slots at events, and then also you have so much between the Synchros 5 protagonists. It was an easy call that the first edition would be so good. They yeet out an unlimited edition of this so fast though, and then that has short printings in the EU. So for how weirdly this was handled, despite all it gave for being one of the best legendary duelists of all time, if not the best, really, it is the best, I still give this product ranking a B. It does very good overall for everybody, but it just got so expensive fast. It did terrible with its short printings, and I think it gets outclassed by other products within this year that we're going to talk about. And one of them next, budget for everybody. It gives a fan favorite a place. I'm going to put it in the A section, the Shadol deck. It actually took them back to the forefront of the metagame. Remember the Team YCS alongside Dinos in the fight for dominance? It did so much for the deck with just a few cards. Yugi tubers, including myself, underestimated this and what it would do for the deck by far, and it took itself back to the top and really showed what it could do. It also had some decent reprints. I feel like this one easily gets that A-lister. And Alter Arts. Konami tried so many new things with products. Alter Arts in a structure deck, good freaking job. I'm gonna give Ignition Assault, our first failing grade despite doing well on the secondary market, a D. Why it did well on the secondary market? Everyone was ripping it open for triple Lightning Storm, which has actually been phased out already by other product. Talk about power creep. So Lightning Storm's still an amazing card, but it's getting outclassed by Droplet, Talent, so many other cards that people would just rather play. Although with the trap heavy format right now, we might see a little resurgence of that, but it carried the set. Look at everything else. One of the worst buyouts in history. Ignister Island? Remember that one? Going to $30? That's laughable. Look at it now. Also, Gizmek Kaku getting power creeped almost immediately by the Master Rule that we knew was coming, and Konami short printed that anyways. And then you have Rose and Plunder Patrol feeling incomplete. It has a lot of pieces that all feel almost there that just didn't quite do enough, although Rose probably panned out better than a lot of the cards in here alongside Lightning Storm. Secret Slayers, I feels like Yugi tubers are hyping up Genesis Impact like it should have been Secret Slayers, and this is easily atop the A tier. The Eldritch Engine still doing its thing. We already have a reprint of Golden Lord, and now Super Rare / Ultra. Like, they're doing so well for themselves in terms of pricing after the Golden Lord reprint, and it's pushing itself into the metagame still. This engine is resilient. Then you have Adamancipators, which took over the metagame so hard and comboed so fast that they had to ban a card for it in Block Dragon. And then the Rikus, the waifu to round out the archetype. Every side set has to have waifus now. But with the Rikas, it feels like, again, an incomplete thing almost there. You had nice reprints in Super Upstart, Super Solemn Judgment. I feel like this was an amazingly solid set and an easy A. Now, this one's really tough for me. I either want to put it at the bottom of A or the very top of B, and that's Dual Overload, and I think I'm going to be a little harsh. I'm going to put it at the very top of B. They still short printed Impermanence here, and then on top of it, you have amazing imports between Halka Fibrax, Union Carrier, Budget, Chaos Levianeer. It's so hard not to push it back up to A, but my reasoning for it is when you open a pack of this, you're either marginally B beating what you spent at a $30 MSRP, or you're really losing out. Tons of things became budget. It's really nice with how they went, but they also even reprinted what was special about this later in Gold Series. The alter arts have already been reprinted. It feels like Konami just can't help themselves, and they take away what's special about sets. So we did get all these Link monsters right before the Master Rule, and going into them, they were still super duper effective. You have really budget cards that probably will age well. It's a solid B+, barely doesn't make A. I almost want to put it at the bottom of A. And our first straight up F for failure. Just, why did you replace special editions with this? We could use so many better special editions, but I do also get that for failing sets, which we're in right now in terms of the secondary market, special editions would be even worse. This thing took what was artificial scarcity in terms of short prints from Legendary Duelists that people wanted this collectible factor, and it just drove it into the ground. It didn't provide enough special, and they're taking, like, what, the one metagame card, they're trying to shove a couple of imports for $15 for being clunkier for vendors, terrible losses, sitting on shelves. This is an easy F. This just did not perform, and the reprint should have been in other products like Battles of Legend, like Gold Series, like Duel Overload. It should not have been its own product, and is a terrible attempt at replacing. But I do give Konami props for trying different things. At first, I thought, this does look pretty cool, but dude, straight down. Now, this one has redeemed itself from the C tier to the B tier. It's just aged well. You have Access Code Talker out the gate being a really good chase card, and I even called this. It feels like Dark Neostorm. So many awesome things going on. Animador Archosaur going from mid-range to top dollar cards. Over time, you could have got it cheaper to go along with that Dino engine, and we did get the Structure Deck Rewave, which helped sell that. Then you have Dragon Maids. I know, my eternal enemy here on Market Watch, but you have Chamber helping the engine. Link Cross getting banned later, so a power card that really should have been higher, but people were always scared of it getting banned. This has so much going for it. Overall, as a set, you have the Madolche support, you have something for you know, rogue tier, casuals, competitors alike. Really great job, and the Starlight choices were solid. Toon Chaos, I think, gets the bottom of A tier. I called this the next Ancient Millennium, but Konami kind of ran collector rares down to the ground. But before that, we know now how lucky our choices were for the collector rares, like Blackluster Soldier Gamma. The freedom they had with a TCG exclusive set, rather than just having to push the new archetypes and not getting to bring us really collectible or good stuff within the collector rare. So the choices here, so much better even now. The first edition of the set doing well. They also yeeted out an unlimited of this set kind of crazily fast, looking at what else we could really get reprinted. And for that, I think this set did speak to the demand that it had. It had the really good archetypes coming forward anyways, with Toons appealing to collectors and casuals, Chaos to the old school meta players. The typings were just perfect, and the collector rares turned out really well. You had something for everybody in Toon Chaos easily. Oh, Battles of Legend only gets a C thanks to 10,000 Dragon. It did such horrible things overall, but I will give Konami, before I tear in, I'll give Konami one other prop. You didn't short the Numeron engine. You actually took something that was so hyped, anticipated, and also underperformed. The Numeron engine is still crazy good. I think we would see a huge amount of representation at IRL events, and you didn't short it at all. Really, really shocking, surprising, good move. Then you short Invocation into the ground. You short the prize card, of course, and 10,000 Dragon saves this set. If it didn't have 10,000 Dragon, it feels like an empty shell of what Battles of Legend used to be. The reprints, this jobbed to Gold Series, it jobbed to the Megatons. It did not do nearly enough for what Battles of Legend used to be. We go and look at the first that set the standard. This doesn't live up to the name. It almost gets a D, but it gets a passing grade thanks to 10,000 Dragon and the Japanese interest in our market, and that special cool factor that you did get with that. Now, Rise of the Duelist, no surprise. I'm going to put this solidly ahead of everything in the A tier. You have triple tactic talents, you have Forbidden Droplet, you have Dogmatica as an archetype really pushing in and taking through and actually giving lore throughout that deck as well as we continue through the sets. Then you get like low cards at first. Ice Dragon's Prison, you could have got this for $4, now being $30. You have Shadol Schism. This had everything. This was also short printed, like we didn't get a full printing of it, and we're so thirsty for cards in here that the product price just continues to go skyward like we've never seen a core set go before. The Starlight choices are very good as well. I like this set a lot for what it is, and I think they did a great job with it, and it kind of became the standard that had people rushing for product later that's caused crash outs and burning in value afterwards, and we'll talk about that in a bit. I think the Sacred Beast structure is a solid, ooh, it's close. It's close. I think it's a C, top of the C tier. It comes close to B. The engine's really cool. Sacred Beast gives something to collectors too. Putting it in a structure deck instead of piecing it out within sets, also a good move by Konami. I really like what they did there, and there's some good reprints. Actually, I'm going to put it at the bottom of B. I do feel like it could have been stronger. I was disappointed for what some of it was, but it still turned out all right, and I feel like the deck is comprehensive. It doesn't give us a meta deck. It does give a rogue strategy, but I feel like it was more of a nod towards people that watched GX, that enjoyed the past, and while I want to set my own personal bias aside on how much it kind of failed my expectations on announcement, it was so hard to make all the Sacred Beasts come to the forefront. Megatins, for the first time ever, I think, in my life, well, 2017, okay, but they get a failing grade of D. You had the ultimate model in the 2019 tins. You had promos that sold this tin, and instead, Konami got way greedier, and they put Dragoon into the set, hoping that would sell it even better. We did get pretty much everything in there that we didn't expect. We expected this to have certain printings pulled out for Gold Series, and instead, they included everything in the kitchen sink, but then you have value vampired out, such as Apollosa by Gold Series, and this just pales in comparison to that reprint set as well. They took a model that was perfect, they ruined it, they took away promos in a set, and vendors en masse bought it hoping for promos. Remember how the community-wide reaction was to the Dark Magician Blue Eye support, and how disgusted they were despite it being an awesome moment with Dan Green and Eric Stewart, voice actors for Yugi and Kaiba. Like, I was marking out, and then I was like, wait, those aren't promos even. Oh my gosh, the tins, what's happening? No promos in the Megatins. Biggest mistake in throw Konami's ever made, mayhaps. Legendary Duelist Rage of Ra. So this was not a Legendary Duelist in Japan. It wasn't marketed that way. USA keeps that successful promotion going, and I thought it might help sell the set. And you get Godguard Merrick on the cover, and then a Ghost Rare Raw, and so many of the Raws came out scuffed. They just did an awful handling of the Ghost Rares within the packs. I think I've seen 5D set with less scuffed Ghost Rares coming out of packs, and with that, you also just have no appeal towards the meta players. It's purely for collectors, and unlike the Sacred Beast, not really a super playable strategy. You do get playable cards, but not a real playable strategy that can pierce like a tournament top cut and take people by surprise. The Machina structure deck, I feel like, gets the lowest of the C tier. It really does have a cool engine. It goes to the past for a deck that people love, but I still feel like Fortress outclasses a lot of what this deck does, but the engines come more together, and they continue to get pieces of support here and there. I do like the structure, actually, but I feel like it barely passes. Also in the F tier, do we give it the lowest of the D tier? I feel like we give it the highest of the F tier. Is Dragons of Legend. The dice was a cool concept, and I think they tried harder with imports and that sort of stuff with this to try to make it succeed. We get a Toon Kingdom reprint that we were held out on from Toon Chaos and other sets, so really Konami tried to push this forward with a card that had way more hype than it had any business ever doing by and not getting a reprint where it should, and I feel like this is just, again, the special editions have failed us in the past where we've needed them in other places for successful sets, and I get that you don't want special editions of a set that's already sitting there on shelves like Phantom Rage, but these just aren't it. They need to figure out something better for that kind of import look forward, special promos. This isn't it. Phantom Rage, I'm actually going to give a C despite it failing in the secondary market prices. And here's why with it. I feel like you have Zeus being underestimated in terms of its price. Alpha is really good and semi-generic. It's no Pankratops, but it is its own unique card that plays back and forth, especially for going second Yu-Gi-Oh! You have a successful archetype in the virtual world, but it doesn't have the highest rarity to lend it value. So you do get a good archetype, you get good boss generic-ish, but not completely generic cards, because Zeus is coming into a metagame that was previously dominated by Links and Synchros, but it brings Zodiac back to the forefront on its own. So I feel like this set has a lot going for it, but so many vendors bought in like it would be Rise of the Duelist 2.0, like it would be able to just sell itself like hotcakes, and with so much competition on this set, and it not really being shorted, and so many people having it, the price is bottomed out, and I feel like stores overestimated themselves and overcompensated for Rise of the Duelist. Maximum Gold is an interesting set, and I'm gonna put it at the very back of, well, no, I think I'm gonna, this is tough. I'm gonna give it A tier. It does a lot of things that I didn't like that it did, but it's good for the set itself, such as the alter arts. You have the Blue Eyes reprint actually atop the set being just a half print and not a short print. Infinite Impermanence is not shorted for the first time ever. You have unique alternate arts, you have past alternate arts, and it does it in a classy way, but it is really handled weird where the EU set and the USA set, I would consider them different cards. They're completely different in the printing process, how they look, how they turned out, and they're not the same. So you do have kind of a controversial divide there. The printing errors were actually good this time. A lot of the misprints became very, very valuable for those that were able to find them, and I really do like how those turned out as well, whereas you had like damage in Toon Chaos. You had a lot less of that and more of cool things that happened with Maximum Gold. I think, though, its Achilles heel is having 0 imports. It's only reprints, and it got chock full of that value. It does have things for collectors, it has things for meta players, and it almost feels like a successful Dual Devastator now that I think of it. Dual Devastator failed itself by having no RNG despite how cool of a concept it was. The field centers weren't enough RNG, whereas this, it almost feels like a more comprehensive Dual Devastator that has random number generation to it. The Charmer structure deck, I want to give it a failing grade, and I think I will. You did not have evenly matched, but you had Dark Ruler No More as a cool reprint. You really appeal to the collectors. I gotta give you bottom of C. I got to give it a passing grade. It does a lot for collectors. It does unique things such as random tokens and gives RNG in a structure deck. Super Rare Regeki was kind of a slap in the face. That was weird to even be holographic. It's like Konami can't let that one go. And then they take out evenly matched, but they do give us Dark Ruler No More within the set. They do bring a more fan favorite archetype to the forefront. I'm barely going to give it a passing because it is a $10 product, and for what it gives, it does a pretty good job because Dark Ruler No More itself was a $10 card as we head towards this. So for value, for meta players, for everybody, it gives a little something for everybody, but not on like a massive scale. And they, for the first time in a long time, pulled back on a card they should have just given us. Next up, oh man, Genesis Impact is hard to put up. Right now, it is tanking and failing on the secondary market. It was called Genesis Low Impact. Yugi Tubers hyped Drytron as if it was the next Eldritch, and it's doing very well for itself. But I do think that the collector rare choices were gosh awful, and it shows us missed opportunity. So for that reason, I'm going to give it a D. Failing prices, terrible choices for the collector rares, only one archetype that's really making itself out. The Evil Twins are also an interesting engine that feels like it's barely not all there. It's another incomplete in my hands, could have been better archetype that really had unique design, not only in art, but in the cards themselves. This barely fails. Barely. But I think a large chunk is due to the collector rares. And finally, I just don't care about speed duels, but I really like the secret rares. I think that this product really is one of the last updates, and I'm just going to give it an F for how Konami has handled speed duels in general. I love the secret rares, but within just 3 of these, you technically have the RNG to hit all the secret rares, so I would just buy the secret rares and not touch this product unless you needed other cards inside for speed duels specifically. I feel like Speed Duels is so thirsty for updates. They have a really tight-knit community together, but it's probably going to get overrun by Rush Duels here in the future now that we have it trademarked in the USA, whether that's to protect Konami's kind of property or to actually bring it over. Whatever would happen, I feel like Speed Duels would go back way behind it, and they've just not given any good pricing. What? Stickers and cups! Stickers and cups for local pricing. Yeah, they've handled speed duels terribly, and this product, again, is just kind of like, oh, here's a massive update, we forgot about you all year. It doesn't feel like it's really that good. The secret rares are really cool, though. I would just buy them as singles again. Thanks for watching today's review. What do you think of how I placed all these products? I feel like certain ones, maybe you could interchange. Like, do you feel like the Machina structure deck should be down here? It's done some really interesting things in the rogue category, and I feel like it also had decent enough reprints. I feel like looking through all this, I've put it about how I would want to see it. I might switch around a couple things, like maybe here and there, but overall, I feel like this is a pretty good assessment of how products have gone. Let me know. I'll put the tier list down below for you guys in case you want a crack at it, but I really like how Konami did product this year, but they threw in the fourth quarter by far. Everything in the fourth quarter has felt like they're trying and failing to recapture what they did earlier in the year, and the reverse power creeping. Blazing Vortex has its problems cut out for it. It needs the exclusives to save it, and when we say that for a set, that's not a good sign. Ghost from the Past looks like it should be very interesting, and moving forward, I hope Konami recaptures a little magic of the beginning of this year and halfway through the year, rather than what happened towards the end of this year. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed the conversation. And as always, use that TCG player link in the description down below, costing you nothing extra, to support the channel directly for the cards you'd already be buying.